An Austin-based restaurant chain is serving up huge rewards for the people working behind the counter. This week, P.Terry's Burger Stand announced a transition to an employee ownership trust, allowing its 1,800 workers share in the company's future profits. And we're excited to introduce and invite co-founder P.Terry joining us now here on Midday to talk about that transition. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
No, we appreciate your time. This is certainly exciting news. What a journey it's been for P.Terry's. You started in 2005 with one location. Now you have 38 locations.
Right.
What made you decide to do this EOC?
Well, first of all, I have to give the credit to Mrs. Terry, who's the co-founder of the business. You know, it's interesting. We learned very quickly that we could not do what we were doing without our employees. And so we've always tried to recognize that, whether it was with interest-free loans or birthday cakes on their birthday, Christmas bonuses and the like. And really, we just recognized at some point that it was time to make a shift to make sure that the business never changed, that the culture never changed, and that we were doing things way beyond my lifetime. And so this shift kind of helps guarantee that, because it gives the employees now a voice in how the business will run, and it's really more for the future than anything else.
So what is exactly an employee ownership trust?
So Kathy and I own most of the business,
okay,
and we set aside several 100,000 shares of our business and put it in the trust. And so now the trust sits holding these shares. In the event that Kathy and I were ever to sell the business, which we have no intention of doing, they would then benefit from the sale,
gotcha,
because the shares would be there. But more importantly, it just establishes them as a part of the company and ownership of the company.
It'll make them want to stay too, right?
We hope so. We hope so.
Company also rolling out an immediate 5% profit sharing program. What is this about?
So that in some ways that's even a bigger deal, because that's a check they're going to get at the end of this year.
They're going to see that right away.
They're going to see that right away. So we have 1,800 employees. 400 of them now qualify for this additional cash. And so the idea will be we start at 5% and then we get to we'll go to 20% over time. Yeah. And
so you said for those who qualify for full-time employees?
Yeah, it's really for full-time, but it's mostly if you had to have worked for us for 2 years.
Okay.
And so that hits the 400-person mark.
And so how do you expect this to maybe change the culture?
Well, we don't want to change the culture, but we always like to embrace it, and we always can see improvement. And so I feel like there's even one less reason to ever leave.
There you go.
So that's, you know, we've been very fortunate. We have employees that have worked for us for 18, 19, 20 years,
wow,
since the very beginning.
There you go.
And so the interesting thing about the profit sharing is it's based solely on how long you've worked for us. So you can be working at the counter and you're going to make more in this profit sharing than a vice president because you've been here longer.
Wow.
And that's what we really love about it. We're rewarding the people who have been with us for the longest.
What has the reaction been? I imagine the vice president not too happy, but what about everybody? What about everybody else?
Well, the vice president still gets a check.
No, right.
Oh no, I think there was somewhat of shock. You know, our industry, this doesn't happen in quick serve restaurants, right? And so I think there's been I think people are still, the initial reaction was shock, and then obviously delight. And I think it'll really come home when the checks come out at the end of the year.
Sure, they'll be really happy when they get that check.
Right,
all right, P.Terry, thank you so much for joining us here on Midday. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Okay.